income and expenditure briefing by Stats SA, concluding there in the main by Statistician General Risenga Maluleke. And it doesn't make for very encouraging listening. We'll get a perspective from Redge Nkosi, who's Executive Director and Head of Research for Money and Banking, and an economist and a specialist, just talking about some of the numbers that we have heard there. Reg, as we came out towards the end, we heard, and welcome, by the way, where are my manners? Welcome to the program. When you think about the proportion that is spent by the poorest households in South Africa, housing and food taking up 68% of the poorest budgets, and also the spending related to cereals, porridges and pup, which make up the bulk of the spending for the lowest income households. It just, again, paints such a sad picture of the real struggle and strain by the poorest in our society. Talk to us about some of the things that stood out for you, and also just reflect on this particular number.
Well, I'm beginning to look through the numbers right now, but quite frankly, the number is dangerous for society, South African society, because virtually all income is spent out on very, very few items for living. That tells you how the economy has or is failing the citizens in South Africa, and perhaps not just the economy, how the government has failed the citizens. You cannot have virtually nearly closer to 70% of your income spent on just a tiny bit of the items, food items, and transport. The rest then means what? You can't acquire any asset at all. You can't invest anywhere else. You're stuck in a rut, just going to work, go and feed yourself, come back, and so on. That frankly can't be the way in which a country can pride itself and live for generations to come. South Africa has to change. The numbers are looking very grim, and this is an urgent issue. After all, the income and expenditure survey is there to give us a sense of how or what policies, social and economic, that we should begin to put in place to ensure that an economy of the type that we are in can progress. But I'm afraid this picture says we are dangerously moving along.
Yeah. We'll come to the racial profile and the split, and I can appreciate, Reg, I think as journalists, we type quite quickly, and we were able to consolidate to some of the detail there quite quickly. So I can appreciate if you don't have all the numbers in front of you right at the very outset, but I will get your reflections on some of the numbers that I will share with you. But I think to go back to the concept of the income and expenditure survey, why it is conducted at the intervals that it is, in this particular case, 10 years since we had the last one, and why it is important to have a profile like this as, for South Africa, which shows us how its citizens are living and existing and what the financial pressures are, but assist those policymakers and planners to plan more, to a problem that they can understand.
Well, firstly, the income and expenditure survey should be done every 5 years. That we haven't had one for the past while is unfortunate. But again, it happens at appropriate time because we've just had a census. This then ties quite snugly with the numbers that come from the census, such that then we're able to say which part of our country, earns what, spends what, on what, and so on. That's important. And it's important, again, because this is the time for government to begin to put in place policies that are going to alleviate poverty, policies that are going to advance economic growth, and so on. So it has come at the right time, even if, remember, this is a 2022, 2023 survey, nonetheless gives us a good shot at what the current situation is. We think that the numbers that are coming through here now, some of which we have to crunch a bit more, paint a scary picture. However, there is hope that if we have numbers of this nature, there could be drastic, if you want, policy shifts that South Africa has to make Otherwise, then I'm afraid we're looking towards the abyss as the one that happened in North Africa, as we know.
Yeah, again, though, one wonders, we need a catapult out of the current situation that many households find themselves in. We'll share some more numbers now in terms of the demographic dividends. But, you talk about the scary picture, which you've now reiterated. It does imply that there needs to be some radicalism when it comes to aggressive economic turnaround policies in South Africa, particularly with alleviating the plight for the poorest of the poor. And that goes hand in hand with creating credible job opportunities. And while real job creation, we've had major criticism around the concept and practice of creating job opportunities in South Africa, but we need to create real jobs and put people, the labor force who's ready and willing to work, into labor so that they can provide for their families and have a real life. Reg?
I'm afraid, Ibani, it should be the case. I'm afraid they're telling us about job opportunities. We don't need job opportunities. It can't just be about job opportunities. It should be real jobs, as you put it. And South Africa is bleeding as to where it's one of the worst unemployment numbers that we have on earth. All right. And we cannot just go along as we are doing right now. So a fundamental shift is required. But if you look at what's happening at the Treasury and the Reserve Bank, I'm afraid all this that we're talking about here seems to be just hot air, because they've continued along the same tired neoliberal approach to economic management, which has never worked anywhere. Somehow, Pretoria thinks that there's going to be a miracle out of the dead economic ideas that they're churning out, and South Africa will grow. It will not, and the situation may get worse and worse as we go along. Just not about employment. Poverty on its own, of course, it comes from there as well. Poverty is all over. And businesses, some are closing and will continue to close, meaning that opportunities for job creation are going to go down. Income is going to continue to be poorly distributed across the society. We need better income distribution, don't we? And if that has to be the case, then a fundamental realignment of economic forces has to take place.
Yeah.
And, things like land and matters related thereto must come to the fore to address the challenges that we see now in the income and expenditure side.
All right, let's go to the demographic dividend, Reg, and ask the question, whose economy is this anyway? And what we heard from Risenga Maluleke is the white, and this is the racial classifications as they exist on South Africa's population register right now. So the white population group had an income of 767,375 Rand and expenditure at 409,520 on average. That's followed by the Indian or Asian population group at 417,341 in income. The coloured population at 260,816. Black households at 143,632 Rand, which is below the national household income of 204,359. So what is this also showing us about the economic dividend in South Africa? Concerningly, that last number below the national average household income. And then just talk to us about how we should understand those numbers, Reg, particularly in a context where, do we view this as, per capita, given that the racial category, Black South Africans make up the majority in our population?
Yeah, I think it shouldn't surprise any careful economist or careful observer. The trend has been like that for quite a while, generally skewed towards Europeans, and with largest incomes getting to them. Of course, the expenditure profile is well known there. The people who should be spending so much should be the Africans themselves, who I'm afraid they don't have sufficient income. The 100 that we're talking about here is well below the numbers that any country would in fact give to its majority citizens. So South Africa is on the precipice, in my view, and unless this changes, there's going to be, what would become racial challenges amongst the groups. Africans will be saying, well, why should a European be earning money forever more than me in my land? Stuff like that. And so on and so forth. So what South Africa government is doing is encouraging racial divisions by continuing with the policies that throw the African people right at the end. So this demographic is a sad indictment of what has come to be known of South Africa right from the beginning. Poverty among the African people and wealth among the Europeans, and in between, obviously, the Indians. But if anything that we're going to learn from this is that South Africa simply has to change. We cannot see this picture where people are not earning below, the 200 that's expected to be earned by the Africans, slightly above that. And any continuation of this nature means, quite frankly, throwing the country into all manner of challenges, racial and otherwise.
Redge Nkosi is with me. He'll stay with me for a little bit longer. We're going to take a short break, but we're unpacking the latest income and expenditure survey, which is showing South Africa itself in terms of its income and spending patterns. we continue to take a closer look at what we've just heard from Stats SA Statistician General Redge Nkosi, sharing with us the latest income and expenditure survey. It is a large-scale household-based survey which is aimed at collecting detailed information on the income and expenditure patterns of South African households. And Redge Nkosi, the Executive Director and Head of Research for Money, Banking and Macroeconomics at Firstsource Money, has been looking at some of what we heard just now. Reg, let's go deeper. I'm hoping we can look at the geographic spread and dividend in South Africa. But for right now, let's talk about gender. Female-headed households earning significantly lower income than male counterparts. Almost half, we heard there, than what their male counterparts are earning. And also this disturbing stat as well, lower income households today in South Africa relying mainly on pensions and social insurance. 51% of these households earning from those sources compared to their wealthier counterparts. And it goes back to the point that you were making around, proper jobs and giving people the proper opportunity to take part in this economy. We're seeing all of this then manifest in the lived experience through these spending patterns that we're seeing now.
Yeah, I think what is quite clear is that women households, and remember our country, a large chunk of it is headed, households are headed by females. And these are the people who earn the least. And what do you expect? Type of society the children will grow into, how children are going to be fed, and the outcomes of such children in society. What does that mean? It really means very dark future for the economy. And, part of the grace that we're having there is the social income from SASSA, social grants and so on. But that's how much is that? What can you buy with some 500 rand when a bag of meal is in the regions of 100 rand? And that's now, you have to stretch all that for the entire month. So, these numbers show us that we have been living very dangerously and we continue to live very dangerously. And somehow government has, if you want, absconded. It's not there. People have to manage on their own without, the support and economic policies that support growth, that support economic emancipation and support job creation, and matters right there too. So, yes, 51% is a large number. And we should be bowing our heads and saying this is a sorry picture for South Africa and something has to be done as a matter of great urgency. GNU, as they call it, is doing what? Just if not propagating, continuing to enhance the same patterns that we've seen here, where the Europeans earn in the regions of 700,000 and the Africans are earning 100,000. So, we simply have to move away from this dark picture that the Statistician General has now put in front of us.
And Reg, perhaps in a future conversation, we can talk about the role that Treasury and the Reserve Bank should be playing, especially as we start to gear up for things like SONA and the budget speech, the budget policy speech expected in the next couple of weeks. Redge Nkosi is the Executive Director and Head of Research for Money, Banking and Macroeconomics at Firstsource Money. We're looking at the income and expenditure survey that